Okay, everybody. Hi, my name is Jason from the Los Angeles Center of Photography. It's nice to see some familiar and some new faces and names out there in Zoom land tonight. I just want to get things going quickly with a couple of maintenance announcements and things like that. Um, we are recording tonight's event, so just be aware of that. And in addition to that, we do encourage you to leave your microphones off, but your videos on if you're so inclined. We do like to look out there and see some smiling faces now and again. So, but again, no pressure. If you're comfortable, great, leave them on. If not, feel free. The names are just fine. It's just nice to see who's here and not feel like we're talking into a big empty void sometimes. We will have a question and answer session for tonight's presentation. That will take place at the end of our presentation. What I'd like everybody to do is, as you think of your questions for our participants this evening, you can go ahead and write those right in that little chat feature that's down at the bottom of your Zoom screen where it says chat. And keep an eye on that box because we will be sending some links and some short announcements here and there throughout the presentation. So keep an eye out for those as well. We will invite you to participate in a short survey so that we can get some feedback. I'm going to post the link now in the chat feature. I'll also post the link again at the end, just as a reminder, but we would love everybody to take about a minute is about all it takes. It's pretty short, and just answer some questions. It provides us with some crucial feedback so that we can keep giving you the best experience that we possibly can from the Los Angeles Center of Photography. In addition to that, I want to thank all of our members who are here this evening, and thank you for your continued support for the Los Angeles Center of Photography. And if you are not a member, I would invite you to join and take advantage of all of the benefits that membership can offer you through the Los Angeles Center of Photography, and I'll be putting a link to that page as well. That's about all I have for right now. I'm going to turn the conversation over to Sarah Hadley, and Sarah, take it away.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sarah Hadley. I'm the Director of Marketing at the Los Angeles Center of Photography. Thank you all so much for being here tonight. We are really excited to have this, our fifth in a series of talks. And before I talk about that a little bit more, I'm going to just say a few things about LACP. We have a couple of events. We have a call for entry right now. It's on our website under call for entries under the Fine Art Exhibition tab. And it is exploring, the theme is Exploring Humanity, and it's going to be juried by Marissa Caicholo of the Building Bridges Art Exchange. And we also have just announced our fundraiser, which is going to be October 24th, and it's going to be a virtual experience. It's going to be super exciting, and it is free for members to attend. So if you become a member, then you can come to our fundraiser on the 24th, which is going to be super fun. I also want to introduce our staff tonight. You've met Jason Wolfook, who's right there, who's helping us out. Julia Dean, our executive director, is here. Brandon Gannon is here, as well as several of our board members. Aline Smithson is here. Lori Ordover is also here from our board, and I hope I'm not forgetting anybody else. And we've a lot of members, so we're super excited to see you all. I am going to introduce our moderator, Arnika Dawkins, who I first met through Aline Smithson in, we were trying to figure out, I think it was around 2013 or 2012. We met at Photonola, where she was a reviewer, and we had a very fun time. It was New Orleans. So, in about 2012, so it must have been after because you had already started the gallery. So in 2012, Arnika Dawkins gave herself permission to pursue her passion and connect collectors to artwork that's significant, inspiring, and provocative. Part of her mission is to expose people to the joy of what's visually or aesthetically moving, work that makes you think about something and have great conversation. Especially significant, she says, is celebrating and supporting artists while they're living. Her gallery is the Arnika Dawkins Gallery. It's in Atlanta, and her specialty is photographic images by and of African Americans through which viewers can gain something by the act of looking. Her gallery holds solo shows of contemporary conceptual art, and she also exhibits work in Los Angeles, Miami, Washington, D.C., as well as the annual APAD show in New York. We're so honored to have you here tonight, so thank you very much, Arnika.
Thank you, Sarah. So glad to be here and to see some familiar faces. Arlene Smithson, Julia, and Jason. Thank you, LA Center of Photography, for inviting me to moderate tonight. I'm really excited about the three very special artists that we're going to talk to tonight. Patrice Fisher, Dion, Ivory, and Irvin A. Johnson. And so we're going to go in alphabetical order, ladies first. And so I want to introduce you to self-taught artist Patrice Fisher. She wants to inspire others to push beyond self-imposed societal expectations. I saw in one of her bios that she states, "I choose to create beauty, connection, visual statements from my heart." Patrice, I'd love to see your work and that everyone that's joining us tonight see the work that you created from your heart. I'll pass it on to you.
Thank you, Arnika. Okay, am I up? Okay, so I am an African-American artist, and that was the invite for the show. But I am probably, from what I've seen, the only one who doesn't shoot people, or people aren't the subject, or African-Americans, Black people aren't the subjects. My primary subject is nature, macro, and abstracts. So I want to thank LACP and Sarah, because we had a conversation about this, for letting me say what I want to say in my voice. So this endless stream of inhumanity that hits us daily, if it's capitalism, racism, materialism, from the inside, I'm just screaming. When I think about it, it puts me right back in that state that I was when I took that picture. Thriving on the greed and the power and the control is just, takes me to the next picture. I'm just sick and tired of being sick and tired, like Fannie Lou Hamer said. It's exhausting to have this hit you every day, and the next day is always worse than the day before. So when I sit back and I think about, well, why is all this happening? It's like we're in this period of transition. We have to wake up, and being woke is not good enough. You have to get up, we're gonna have to act up, and in order to make real systemic change, or we're gonna be extinct. The planet does not need us. We need the planet. So I immerse myself in nature to get rejuvenated, to find hope. It takes me to that opposite end of what the screaming picture takes me to. It is perfection. If I'm not immersed in it, I'm wrapped in it. And this was the first image that got me into macro and nature. So I take it everywhere I go. I think we're all born these unique creatures, and our life, our family, our circumstances, they mold us into these works of art. But it's purposeful art. I think everyone has this unique purpose of what they're supposed to do, and that's why we're all so different. COVID, it's forced us into these boxes where we have to look at ourselves and our connection to the world. It forces us to question what we have believed for so long to be true may not be true. And what is the world that we're going to recreate? What are we going to pass on? So I went back and I read the Constitution. And when I got to the preamble and read it, it told me everything I needed to know that explains to me why we are where we are right now. And if we're going to build something new, we have to understand the foundation that we're building on. America and so much of the world is in this vice grip for money and power, and mainly white men with money and power, but not exclusively. I mean, we all have to play a part in order to make it work. So as Frederick Douglass said, power concedes nothing without a demand. It never has and it never will. But I think we're past the demand state. I think we're actually have to get up and do some fighting. A good old slave revolt would probably work. If we look at the Haitians and follow what they did, it might work. It used to be said that old slaves had chains on their body. New slaves have chains on their minds, and they come in all colors. So as we go into whatever is coming next, it's like this rebirth or transition. Out of this chaos, there's going to be a new direction. The only question is, which way will we go? That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrice. I really enjoyed seeing your work, and there are a lot of people clapping. They enjoyed it as well. I have a question for you. How did you come to photography?
I guess like every other photographer, somebody in your family gives you a camera. It happened to be my grandmother as a kid, and I've always just shot. I look back at some slides I did in my 20s, and now I'm in my 60s with no number attached. And I was shooting the same thing. I was shooting macro, I was shooting nature, and I hadn't even realized that that's just who I am. That is my voice.
Well, it's really beautiful to see the world from your perspective, and to get the abstraction and the beauty, and to find the beauty. And so thank you so much for sharing your work with us. We're going to, yes. Considering the time we have, wanted to introduce the next photographer, Dion Ivory. Dion is a multidisciplinary artist and art director who uses photography as a visual love letter to Black women. Her ethereal portrait work centers and celebrates the beauty and nuances of Black womanhood. Through her dreamy aesthetic and commitment to making Black women feel seen, affirmed, and empowered, her work has become a safe place for those looking to reclaim their power. Please let me get out of the way so we can hear all about your work, Dion.
Thank you. That was such an amazing introduction. I really appreciate that. Yeah, so I'm very excited and very honored to be here today to show my work and to talk about my inspiration and my reference points and how I even got to this place and how and why my work is so spiritual. So I'm going to share my screen. Just give me like a few seconds. Share screen. Okay. Move this out of the way. Okay, so are you guys able to see what I'm looking at?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. Well, I have my bio up here, which you just read, but yeah, we're not going to pay attention to that. So the first photo that I have is one of my absolute favorites. And it's a friend of mine. Her name is Abena. She's from Ghana. And, you know, our relationship really kind of was cultivated through my creative like pursuits, which I find very interesting, because a lot of my relationships with Black women have strengthened through my creative work. And I feel like it's such a blessing because I feel like photography is such an intimate session where you're able to really kind of dive into who this person is and what makes them special, what makes them beautiful. And you have an opportunity to kind of create a visual description of that through photography. And I feel like that's my approach. And so this photo to me, it's like I said, it's one of my favorites, and it's very classic, it's very timeless, and to me it's very striking. And it reminds me of the work of Carrie Mae Weems and Larry Sultan and, oh my God, what is her name? Vivian Myers. Like when I see their work, it just resonates with me so deeply because it's just, to me, it's beyond a beautiful photograph. It's about the process that it took to get there, and the spirit behind it. And so like I'm a deeply spiritual person, and I feel like the reason why, you know, my photography resonates with people is because of the energy and the intimacy behind it. Because I feel like photography, it resonates because of the experience that you have with another person, and you're giving people an insight into what you see regarding this person. You know, one of my main aims through photography is really helping Black women to see themselves the way God sees them, which is magnificent and wonderful and divine, you know. And so through my work, I feel like I'm able to do that. So this piece is called Beloved Muse, and I just love it so much. And I actually shot it with my iPhone, which is very interesting. I generally shoot with I am laughing at Irvin. That reaction is so hilarious. Sorry, I had to make note of that. But yeah, I shot this with my iPhone. I was trying to get it with my Fujifilm camera, but it was just not coming out right. And I was like, I'm gonna work with what I know here. I'm gonna pull out my iPhone, and I love making weird like set designs. So I had like this craft paper because I'm also an illustrator, and I used it to like ship my work. And I was like, I feel like I'm gonna put this on the wall and like play around with some things. And I had her, you know, kind of be the centerpiece for that. And it just reminds me of like a painting. You know, it's grainy, it's moody, it's just life, you know? So I really love it. And I hope you guys resonate with that as well. My next piece of work, oh my God, I love this so much. And I have this statement that is truly a mantra from my life, and a mantra that I hope other Black women embrace as well, which is Black women are worthy. And just period, Black women are worthy of joy, of love, of peace, of like healthy love, of all these different things. And this piece, which is called Holy, and the woman, her name is Nzinga. She's photographed in this image. This comes from a collection from the Body, a Home for Love, which is my nonprofit. It's a 501c3 shifting culture around how Black women heal from sexual trauma. I am a survivor, and I created the Body, a Home for Love to be a creative wellness space for Black women to kind of tap into different forms of healing through creativity, because oftentimes we kind of like restricted only to yoga or meditation. And I know for me, photography has been a restorative tool for me to empower Black women. And it brings me joy when Black women are able to tap into creativity as a form of like coming back to yourself, or wellness, or empowering yourself. And I love this image so much. I know it's kind of dark, but it's like that on purpose. And to me, it's a very sacred piece. Like it's almost like there's a shield over this photograph to kind of protect her and her story and her voice and her narrative, because, you know, to be able to share your story around sexual abuse and sexual trauma, it's a lot, you know, but I feel like God has given me this ability to access this level of vulnerability that shows up in my photographs, you know, in a way that makes people feel at home or makes people feel seen. And so I love it so much. And it's absolutely one of my favorites. And it just, looking at her, to me, it just embodies hope for women who've been traumatized. Because, you know, you feel isolated and you feel like you have nowhere to go and you feel worthless. And so, you know, looking at this photo, it serves as a reminder to me as a survivor and to other Black women that, you know, your trauma is not the sum of your identity, and there is a light at the end of the tunnel. So that's a bit about that piece. This is another piece also from the Body, a Home for Love. And my nonprofit actually started as a visual storytelling project. So it was like a photo project, and then I kind of transformed it into a nonprofit because God, I felt like he was calling me to do that. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it. And here we are. But yeah, this piece is truly about ownership and like resting in your divine femininity. And I think that as a Black woman, it's so important to be able to tap into that because, you know, from a young age, you're being hypersexualized, you know, and so many people are demonizing you for being curvy and, you know, just being so full of life. And I just want to empower Black women in their bodies to love it, you know, to not be afraid of it, to embrace it and to love on it. And this photo of Simi is just like, first of all, it reminds me of like Foxy Brown, you know, she got the afro, banging body, you know, and oftentimes, you know, it can go left or right. People can either praise you for your curviness or people can like demonize you or hypersexualize you. And I'm truly about helping Black women to understand that your body it's holy. You know what I'm saying? It is a vessel for beauty. It is a home for love. And this image right here, I'm just like, girl, like give me all the way together. I just love it. And even like the broken nail, that's just so real to Black women because we always get our nails done and it's like, they always popping off left and right. But I wanted to show that, you know, in that imperfect nail, like you still look perfect. You know what I'm saying? Nothing can take away or add to the fact that you're just worthy, you're beautiful, you're all of these things. And so I really love this photo and I named it Goddess because that's what she is and that's what she looks like in this image. Oh my God, this piece, okay, obviously all these are my favorites. I'm gonna say that with every photo, but I have the saying, Black woman, your beauty is timeless because it is absolutely true. And, you know, when I look at this photo, it just kind of like teleports me to a different time period, a different time zone. But I photographed this in January of 2019 when I was in Chicago visiting, and I love minimalism. Like simplicity is truly where my strength is because it allows for Black women to take up space unapologetically. It's like I have the Black woman in the center, you know, of the composition. I'm like, this is where I want your eye to go. This is who I want you to focus on, her beauty, her regality, her brilliance, her magic, all of that. And I feel like I've been able to do that so beautifully through my photographs and even just the hair and like the wardrobe, all of it, it just, I don't know, it just adds to the entire feel, the entire vibe of this concept. And so I just love it so much. And I named it Glory because I believe that Black women are glorious and I wanted to show her in all of her glory. Which is really beautiful. And then lastly, I have The Look of Love, which I recently just shot. And I was floored when I saw this, when I was going through my photos or whatever, because wow, that's like, when I think about this photo, I just think about sustainable joy, which is a mantra of mine. You know, I'm all about letting go of what doesn't affirm me, you know, really resting in who God says I am, resting in hope, resting in my beauty and, you know, divinity as a Black woman. And I feel like this photo just embodies all of that. And I just love her skin and like the ponytail and the edges and like her full features, you know, and just her side profile, it just screams Black, you know. And I feel like, you know, it's been so long, like not so long, we've just been oppressed for so long and we've just been told lies about how beautiful we are and those things. And I look at this photo, I'm just like, this is a blackity Black photo, a blackity Black woman. And I feel honored to be able to capture her in such a regal light. And I love it so much. And I call it The Look of Love because, I mean, it's just the look of love. You know, it just came to my mind and I was like, I resonate with that. Like I resonate with that on a deep level. But, you know, I feel very blessed to be able to do this work. And I love that my photography has been a way for me to cultivate these beautiful relationships with Black women. And for them to say to me, when I photographed them, I've never seen myself in this way. I did not know that I was this beautiful. Like that's the reward. You know, it's truly about the impact that you make. And so I don't know, I just feel great. And yeah, that's a bit about my work. It's about Black women, Black beauty and Black womanhood. And that's all. Thank you.
That is amazing. Clap, 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 clap.
Thank you.
I saw in one of the chats, Eileen Smithson said, Dion, it's so refreshing to hear how you love your photography. And she says, well, I do too. Most artists, women in particular, never come out and say that they love, love, love their work. So fantastic. And I agree. I want to ask you one quick question, and I am being cognizant of time. I believe that artists are dialed, or creatives are dialed to a different level of sensitivity. And it's clear that you are. What have you been doing during the pandemic and cultural protest in our country currently?
What have I been doing? Honestly, I have been very active around creating a safe space and community for Black women who are traumatized. You know what I'm saying? I feel like we're all going through a collective trauma with the pandemic, but also, you know, I'm hypersensitive to the fact that there are Black women and there are survivors who are at home with their abusers, you know, and so through the Body and Home for Love, me and my beautiful team, we're all very active around, like I said, creating a safe and sacred space for these women to come to feel restored and empowered, and to return to the truth about who they really are and what they really possess. So that's what I've been doing, and that's where my energy has been going.
Well, thank you for that gift, because as you said, I mean, it's something that, you know, Black women, Black people, humanity needs, and especially during these times. So kudos to you.
Thank you.
Last but not least, Irvin A. Johnson. Irvin utilizes photo-based mixed media to reimagine his cultural and racial identity. He is an Arnika Dawkins Gallery represented artist, and there are two Irvin Johnsons. Please meet tonight the one and only Irvin A. Johnson.
Hi, everyone. Arnika, that was great. Okay. So I'm going to give you like a brief run through of who I am and how I've come to be an image maker. You guys can all see this, right? Okay.
It's coming. Yes.
Okay, so I originally began at the University of Illinois in Champaign-Urbana as a writer. And in my senior year and in African-American queer literature class, this image was discussed, and probably for the entire period of the class. And I cannot recall being more uncomfortable as a Black queer man in a class alone. So much so that this image is, I think that was 2006. I've never been able to get this image out of my mind. And that weekend I went home and borrowed my cousin's camera because this image upset me so much that I wanted to create something that kind of countered it and showed the type of Black imagery of queer men that I wanted to see for myself. But also in that same class, this image was shown. This is Isaac Julian. This is from Looking for Langston. And this also resonated with me in the exact, with the same amount of power. Up until this point, I had never seen images of queer Black men that were this intimate, this loving, and that kind of gave me the freedom to feel like it was okay to be myself. I've watched this movie at least 50 times since then. It's very reaffirming. It makes me feel very proud of myself. And so the first image I made in response to that Mapplethorpe image was this. I made this in 2011 in a Black and white photography class. I've always been very interested in intimacy amongst men, especially Black men. I don't think that it's not something that we see much of, especially in this way. And so from that point on, I made it a point to make imagery that I would be proud of and that my friends would be proud of. So this is more from that. I have to say this was the scariest thing I had ever done. I wasn't out to my entire family, and I was making these images, and I brought them home to show them. So you can imagine how well that went. So yeah. And so I was at Columbia College for about a year and a half. I finished the photography program in a year and a half. That was about 20 or 30 classes. And I immediately realized that I was interested in doing more with photography and pushing the boundaries of it. So these are my early experiments with doing that. This series is about being uncomfortable in spaces and trying to manifest that visually. This is another from that series. And from there, I went to Savannah College of Art and Design for my graduate program. I was there for 2.5 years. And these are just some selections from the work that I did there. Again, exploring queerness, Blackness, occupying spaces and what that meant and felt like to me. So yeah. And then my last year, probably actually the last quarter, I was home for spring break. Or was that? No, it was summer break. And I think it was the Trayvon Martin case was going on through the summer. So my mother and father had the TVs on 24/7, watching the news updates for the case. And during the end of the trial, my mom walked into my room and she stared at me for a long time and she started crying. And then she left. And then the next day we had a very long conversation about why that was. And she told me that she felt like she was helpless to protect her child as a Black man out in the world. And so that echoed my sentiment. I'm obviously fearful a lot of existing in this world. And up until this point, I wasn't really participating in any marches or anything because I feel like they really don't do anything. And so I wondered how I could be of use and be active in this conversation. And so on the drive back to Atlanta from Chicago, I had this idea to create this series called #InHonor that would not only exist in like gallery spaces and formal spaces, but also exist outside of those spaces and activate like different conversations in different neighborhoods in different cities. So this is the first two I actually created. They are large scale portraits. I think they're 42 by 56 inches. Yeah. So InHonor has different iterations and I call them phases. This is the first phase. So how it works is I'll send out an invitation on social media and people will come to the portrait sessions and sit and we'll talk about the project and just also what it's meant for us to be Black and how we're existing and getting through these times. And then I'll take the portraits, print them out, and then renegotiate them with solvents and spray paints and acrylic inks. And then also, like I mentioned earlier, a major component of InHonor is activating spaces and getting the work out to the people that it's meant for. So I actually had a friend design a poster campaign and then we pasted these in Atlanta. I think this was 2015. And then also in 2017, I did these in Chicago as an installation. This is the second iteration of InHonor. These are different because whereas the first images are just one image, these are a combination of, as I think you guys can see, they're like 4x6s collaged together to make the whole face. This is the third iteration. This is different because these are actually combinations of multiple faces collaged together. and this is my newest and latest iteration. It's called Variations on a Theme, and it's informed by my recent love for jazz music, and yeah.
Well, I don't have to say, I don't have to tell anyone how much I love the work. In fact, tonight I've just been overjoyed by seeing such talented photographers. It's the medium of our time, and although very different, I just love this reverence for Blackness and that celebration. So, Irvin, I wanted to ask you about your influences with your work, and a double-edged question, how you even came to photography. Why is it photography, or is it paintings?
Okay, so first, influences. Like I mentioned, that Mapplethorpe image really struck a chord with me, so much so that I don't even know why I went and found a camera. I just really felt like I had to make something to counter that image. So that Mapplethorpe slash the Isaac Julian film, Looking for Langston, those were really like the sparks that lit the flame for me. What was the second question?
Your influences and how you came to why photography, but you kind of
Okay.
So I was thinking that some of your work though is very active in your process of creating. It's not a straight on photograph, but it is a straight on photograph because it's just a portrait, but there's a lot of movement in your work. Can you speak to us about that?
Yes. So actually in doing research for tonight, I found a lot of consistencies between Dion and Patrice and I. I think for me and Dion, I'm interested in softness, portraiture obviously, and for Patrice, I'm interested in abstraction. So to answer your question, while doing research in grad school, I stumbled upon the abstract expressionist movement, and it really stuck out for me because it involves you getting physically active with the canvas to mimic some type of emotion. And for me, that's Black trauma. And so that's what's happening in those portraits.
And it's interesting that the work, as you mentioned, of all three artists featured tonight and in the exhibition, Say What You Want to Say, there is a lot of emotion there. And I think that transcending a photograph from just a straight on beautiful image, what a gift that it keeps on giving, that you feel something when you view it, or you think about something that when you see it. So I'm going to open it up tonight for anyone that may have any questions for these amazing artists, Patrice Fisher, Dion Ivory, or Irvin A. Johnson. And I'm going to try to navigate through that. Let's see. There's something here from Vaughn Thomas, who is an artist. Let's see. Okay, while we wait on anyone that may have any questions, I'd just like to ask, if I haven't already, the artists that are on view, what are you working on? What are your next projects? Is your work a continuum? And you know, any of the three of you can answer
that. Well, I've spent, I think it's the last 7 months making Variations on a Theme, which is the 4th iteration of # #in honor. And those will be on view at the virtually with Arnika Dawkins Gallery in Atlanta. I think it opens Friday.
It does, virtually.
virtually.
We're going to be mindful of the current situation we're in. I found a question here. Irvin, can you describe more what disturbed you about the image by Mapplethorpe?
In most of them, there is no contact with the sitter, and a lot of them, there is no torso. It's usually just a penis or a buttocks. And for me, that type of sexualization of the Black body has been consistent for hundreds of years. And it's not something that I'm personally interested in or perpetuating as an artist myself. And I know that my fellow queer men of color also feel the same way.
Thank you. There's a question, and Urban, you answered this earlier. Do you have any? Do any of the artists have virtual showings coming up? And yours opens on Friday. Patrice, do you have any virtual showings coming up?
No, I don't.
Where will your work next be seen?
You broke up.
Oh, I'm sorry. Where, no virtual exhibitions coming up. Where has your work been recently seen, or where will it be seen, in the near future or in the future?
There's about, now I think I'm up to 64 pieces in the Kaiser, Baldwin Hills. So it's almost like a gallery.
Tell us about that exhibition.
It's not an exhibition. It was the public art for the medical office building. And so there were different artists selected from the community, and there were 3 photographers, and it was a hit jackpot.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's awesome. Really awesome. Dion, what about you and your work being shown virtually in the near future? I know it's in this exhibition, but what are your what's on the horizon for you and your work?
Yeah, well, I don't have any future, well, to my knowledge, virtual shows, but I mean, my life, literally tomorrow, something could come and I'd be like, oh, okay, well, things changed. But as of right now, this was the last show that I've been featured in for 2020. But in terms of my other work, I mean, I'm getting back into, my digital media paintings and illustration work, and continuing to find different manifestations regarding my work. Like, I want my work to live beyond just a digital space. And even exhibitions, I want them to live on things, like, with my designs on jewelry and different things like that. So I'm really trying to explore everything that I can regarding my work and where it lives.
Love this amazing creative space that you inhabit. There's another question here for Irvin. Irvin, I noticed your newer work is less textured and active as #InHonor. Can you speak to why that is and what has changed between that different body of work?
Absolutely. It's actually something that I've been thinking about and being very intentional about. As my understanding of trauma grows, Black trauma specifically, and my traumas personally, as an artist, I feel like I have a responsibility not to force Black people to engage with that trauma without their permission. And so, like I said before, I'm more interested now in softer images, in resiliency, and I've been thinking a lot about alchemy and Black people as alchemists, and in the ways that we are able to take this thing and transform it into something powerful and beautiful. So,
well, there is a comment from Marie's iPad, and she said, Patrice and Dion and Irvin, thought your presentations were amazing, and love the work again. They felt joy and love and appreciation for the work, and glad to be associated with LACP. Irvin, one more question for you. If you can speak to your experience with public art, and do you find showing work outside of gallery walls equally satisfying?
yes.
Oh.
Did something happen? Yes, it is equally satisfying. in honor, well, all of my work is I've always made it for other people, people that look like me or have had the experiences that I've had, because for so long I felt alone. And when I discovered that I was an artist and I had the gift to make things that invoked a sense of community with people, I felt a responsibility to bring those things to the people for which they are made. So yes, it's very satisfying. The only thing is that it's difficult to find spaces that are open to letting you do things publicly, especially the type of work that I make. But like the engagement that I have while I'm making the thing is like second to none.
One more question for you. Your work changed from men to include women as well. Can you tell us why?
Yes. Well, technically a lot of my friends are men, so that's how I was most comfortable with shooting men first. But I feel a responsibility as a Black man to feature Black women, to show them, to celebrate them.
Awesome, awesome. Dion, you talked about sustainable joy. How do you encounter that, every day, despite what the world is facing?
Well, I was definitely going blabbing on, and I was on mute. Sorry about that. But I was saying, wow, what was I saying? It was something really good and I forgot, but it'll come back to me. Yes, my belief is, joy is my birthright, right? So that's something that I kind of lead with in my life. Irvin, you heard that? You resonate with that?
Hello.
I am on the floor. But yeah, I believe that joy is my birthright, and I believe that we have access to joy at any given time, but we've been taught that we don't. And so, throughout my life, I feel like joy is something that can be, like I said, accessible at any given time. And I feel like happiness is something that is dependent on what's happening. So for me, joy is linked to gratitude. Joy is linked to connection. Joy is linked to like my identity and me resting in who God says I am, regardless of like what's happening around me. So I don't know, there is something very grounding about that. And then me also being very intentional around the spaces that I curate for myself, the people who I let into my space and my energy, the women who I vibe with and who I connect with, all of that matters, and all of that helps me to sustain this joy that I feel like I said in the very beginning, is my birthright, and me trying to help other people access that as well. So I don't know, I'm a very intentional person, a very loving person, a very spiritual person, and I feel like that all connects.
There's a question for you, Dion, about if you can speak about your drawings.
Yeah, so wow, I've been drawing. Photography is very new to me, which is interesting. I've always been like an artist, so I'm, drawing has come second nature to me, and I feel like here recently, I've just kind of discovered this new way of like creating these love letters for Black women through my art and through my illustrations. They're very minimal, but it's very profound, and I feel like I do a beautiful job of really creating these curvature Black women and like our hair and like all of that. And it's really an extension of my photography, because a lot of my work I am inspired by and I use it as a reference point. But with my illustrations, I'm able to tap into the more abstract side of things, which I feel like provides a great balance around who I am. Because even though I'm very, very minimal, I can also be very like abstract and very like elusive and aloof. And I feel like you see more of that in my illustrative work, which is very beautiful. And it also leaves room for interpretation, which is great, because I feel like photography can be very like, this is the message, bam, bam, bam. But with my illustrations, it just kind of allows for a different viewpoint to come into play, and for the person who's looking at it to create their own perception around beauty or art or love or whatever.
Love that, love that. Patrice, we were talking about abstraction and beauty, and that is your work. There's a question here. You've been photographing nature during the how has photographing nature during the pandemic changed the way you see the natural world? Do you ever feel that nature has its own sense of rage?
It has condensed the space of which I operate in. I've been doing a lot of work in my backyard. I had grown some sunflowers, so I shot the sunflowers, did the seeds. And I was walking before the fires came out. And during those periods of walking, I know nature is kind of laughing at us. It's going to be fine. We may not be here, but nature is going to be fine. And it just seems like the trees were saying, what is wrong with you people? Only sick animals defile their own nest. And we've done a bang up job with this planet. I think we can fix it, but nature's going to be fine.
Yeah. Well, I noticed some of your work, it's the macro with the beautiful flowers, and then there's some that are very abstract, but it is nature. Can you tell me the process between the decision of focusing in on like a floral arrangement or something that we don't even really know what it is? Its color, its space, its line, its movement, its form.
I've always just shot what attracts my attention, my eye. So the abstract gold, red, that was done on a cruise. And it was at night and looking out over the water, and it was the lights reflecting on the water. The yellow flower was a bouquet that my daughter had given me for my birthday. And I just looked over at it and go get your camera, shoot it. So it's kind of how I operate. It's just something attracts my attention, and if my camera's around, I get it. If I only have my cell phone, I'll shoot it with the cell phone, or it's just a memory that hangs out in my mind.
Love that answer. Dion, there's a question for you. Your photos are so powerful and emotional. Do you also make photos of white people? And if so, what differences are there when you make them as compared to making photos of Black people?
Sorry about that. Yes. I mean, I do commercial and I shoot fine art, so I do shoot images of white people. I will say that the difference is that when I'm shooting white people, or I'm shooting for a brand and I'm shooting whomever, I'm doing what I love, right? But I feel like when I shoot Black people, I'm like walking in my purpose, right? And it's just a different feeling, like, because representation is so important and that reflection is so important. And I feel like I'm seen in the photographs that I'm taking, but when I feel like I'm shooting other people, it's beautiful, but that spiritual aspect of it it's not there because of like the reflection isn't, you know what I'm saying? I don't know if that makes sense. I just feel like when Black people shoot Black people, it just hits different, you know? But I still feel like you can create beautiful images shooting anybody if you're gifted and you have an eye. So that would be the way I could explain that. Yeah, hopefully that makes sense.
It did. The gift is that we as viewers get to see what it is that you are all creating, and that is what motivates me as a gallerist to show work by talented artists, something of beauty and of impact, and certainly none of your pieces that you chose tonight have disappointed. I'm just going to see if there are any last questions. I think I got them all, and if I didn't, please put it in the chat one more time. I'm trying to monitor that. Galleries and museums predominantly show white artists and photographers. How do you, Patrice, Irvin, and Dion, get their work seen and heard in those predominantly white spaces? How do you handle the racism and
Hello?
Hi.
Am I the only one not hearing people?
No, we can hear you now. So go ahead.
No, but it froze in the middle of her question and everybody froze. And then I was like, am I the only one alive here?
Here's the question. Galleries and museums predominantly show white artists and photographers. How do you get your work seen and heard in predominantly white spaces? How do you handle the racism and sexism that you may encounter trying to get your work shown?
That's for all of us.
Yes.
Or Patrice, do you want to go first?
I have no ambition to be in galleries and museums.
Those spaces usually approach me, and I haven't encountered any racism yet. So
Yeah, I agree with Irvin. I mean, even if it was some racism happening, I would know because I don't even pay any mind to it, you know? So, you know, opportunities come and I'm like, oh, this is great. And then I just keep it moving. But if there has been any active racism or sexism, I honestly have been blinded to it by the grace of God. So, yeah. But that's a great question.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing. That's
Yeah.
a good thing. So at this time, it's just a few minutes before 8. Sarah and Jason, I wanted to turn it back over to you. And thank you again for having me participate and say what you say.
Arnika, you said we could ask you a question.
Yes, you
As
can.
a gallerist, can we put that question back to you because you are more behind the scenes looking for people who are interested to be in galleries?
Yes, so I would say, like Dion and Irvin, I'm grateful that the work that I've shown has been gratefully widely received, and the resonance has been very encouraging. I want to build bridges. I want to have talented artists have their work seen by a wider audience. I am grateful that the artists give me the privilege of showing their work, and grateful for the reception that we get when the work is seen by that wider audience. It encourages me, it inspires me, and I'm grateful not to have had dealt with racism in the fine art world. You know, and Patrice, thank you for asking that question to me because of what I specialize in artists of the African diaspora or imagery of African Americans. It's not my exclusivity, but it's something that I think I want to contribute. I want the artists and the work that I show to contribute to a dialogue and a wider dialogue. Because I think it's through the dialogue that we can move the needle and move things forward, so that I get this opportunity to show it to collectors and for artists to trust me to show their work in my best light. I'm grateful.
Well, we are very grateful to have all of you here tonight. I just was going to ask you, Arnika, how can people participate in the online exhibition of Irvin's work on Friday? Did they go to your gallery or what did they do?
Yes, there'll be a link on the gallery page when the exhibition opens on Friday. And it's going to be on virtually opening rather, on artsy.net. And delighted to show Irvin's work and for the world to see his evolution. And it's great, Patrice and Dion, to have met you both, and I look forward to getting to know you better. And it's great also seeing wonderful friends of the gallery and our artist, Eileen Smithson, and I saw Leslie Jean, where is he? And Bex, and so it's just really great. And thank you everybody for the support. It takes a village, and we're all in this together. And thank you again for LACP for having me moderate tonight.
Well, I think we're all super grateful for tonight's conversation. You all were just, the work was incredible. We were so delighted to hear you all speak and tell what you had to say, what you had to say. So thank you all so much for being here. And if you can remember to please hit the Survey Monkey before you leave, that would help us tremendously just to improve whatever we can improve here. But it was a fantastic evening or afternoon or wherever you are. Thank you all for being here.
And I'd just like to say, everyone be safe. You know, there are wildfires in California where you guys are, and storms in the middle of the country, and a pandemic raging. So enjoy great art from the security and safety of your homes. Take care.
Yes.
Thank
And you can
you.
all join us here next Tuesday for another, for the last of these talks. So check out our website if you'd like to come to that. Again, same time next Tuesday. Thank you. Bye-bye.